Hello again, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of Tech Times Daily. I'll be your host for today, Christian Tejares, and with me is my co-host, Christopher the Nonstopper, the king of conversations and jovial banter. He's not gonna mistake a rap beef from some Gipsal, the great Christopher Short. Hey, Chris,
That was good. I like that.
made you
What's up,
hungry
man?
a bit, right?
I haven't had Sam Samgyeop in a while.
Yeah, those are the bomb.
Yeah, I always end up drunk. It's like seated barbecuing.
Where do you eat some Gipsal from with alcohol,
They all have Samgyeop.
right?
Yeah, but you got to find the right. I mean, there's Samgyeop shops all over the place.
The
You just
shops
got to ask them.
in my area don't actually serve alcohol. Okay,
Oh
this is shame.
hell no! That's first question is y'all got beer? Actually, the first question is y'all got cold beer? Because I don't like my beer poured in a glass with ice in it. I don't like that. I
Yeah,
want it straight.
it's gotta be watered down.
Yeah,
It's
I
never
don't.
good.
Yeah. I want it straight out of a cold ass bottle or can. I'm not choosy, but I don't want it in a glass with ice though. That's the first question.
Have you tried Jinro yet?
General, the is that the aged gin? Oh no, you're talking about soju.
Yeah, soju.
Oh God, dude, I lived in Korea for about 5 years. I had my fill of soju for sure. I've sworn off of it. Soju, tequila. I don't drink tequila. 151 will
You
never
don't?
touch my lips. No, I learned my
Really?
lesson long,
I
long, long.
figured you're a tequila guy.
I used to be. So I got a chipped tooth and shit. It's yeah, it's tequila, man. I learned my lesson in my mid 20s. I used to be a big rum drinker, but you know what? Like I found like I just drank it too much. Now I don't want rum. I like beer or brandy. Gin I'll do, but not much.
The 10 shots of tequila for me would make me change my religion, and I'm an atheist. So
Well, you'll see God. You drink enough tequila. You'll see him for
I
sure. He will
might pick
come.
up a religion afterwards. So
Yeah. And spoiler alert, he's Mexican.
mm. 10 shots, I would probably start a cult. Like speaking of cults, our topic for today, Apple found guilty of illegally interrogating New York City retail employees. Apple's interrogation of its New York City employees under its World Trade Center retail store has reportedly been ruled illegal by the U.S. Labor Board. Three Democratic appointed National Labor Relations Board members upheld the administrative judge's conclusion in their decision. In 2022, the U.S. Labor Board brought legal action against Apple. According to a Communications Worker of America official, the corporation allegedly subjected employees to interrogations, prohibited the posting of union flyers, and had them attend mandated anti union talks at its World Trade Center store in New York City. In late 2022, the New York Labor Relations Board discovered that Apple held required anti union meetings in Atlanta store where the management made statements to coerce workers against them. The board upheld administrative law judge Lauren Esposito's ruling from the previous year, which held that Apple had unlawfully prevented employees from putting union flyers on a table in the World Trade Center store's break room, taken the flyers, and questioned employees about their protected concerted activity. Unionization efforts began only recently in April in New Jersey. Workers at the Apple store in New Jersey will become Communications Workers of America members. The union represents AT&T, Frontier, Verizon, and Apple Store employees. Now, Chris, a question I would like to ask is, in terms of labor in the U.S., aren't these things actually stated in the contracts of the employees? Whether unionization is actually allowed? And the thing with this is this actually allowed in the labor code
Mm,
for companies to actually not allow employees to have a union?
no, union busters are universally frowned upon.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um,
But this is
I
a
think,
major corporation that's actually skirting the law.
yeah, yeah, and because it's not good, right? Like, well, I'm saying it's not good as in, looking at it from their perspective, right? Like, uh, a unionized workforce is in nature going to cost you a lot more money as a business. I mean, you're going to have to give additional benefits, maybe just meet the bar, but it's still going to be additional. You're going to have to give like parental leave, not just maternal, but also paternal leave. Um, Probably pay raises, probably less hours, probably more vacation days. Uh, it's just it's a huge kick in the bottom line for a company that currently does not have a unionized workforce.
But I think smaller companies actually allow unionization, right?
Right.
Even
Like,
though there are these type of disadvantages for him. Like, why would even Apple actually, it being Apple, and how much is actually worth? Just think of this as a major blow to them.
yeah, it would be. Well, it's but I mean, you're not allowed to bust unions. Like if the people want to unionize, the company has to let them.
And do you think this law in the U.S. regarding union busting actually contributes more to companies in the U.S. actually searching outsource labor in other countries that don't have these laws?
Yeah. I mean, if we look at it from, if you could put yourself in the shoes of a CEO or a COO or, even a CFO, then it would be like we're hemorrhaging money over here because, you know, people are getting so many benefits. Let's just go to China where they don't give a shit about paternal leave. Like you have a baby right there in the warehouse and be back to work.
The Apple assembly line.
Have to clean your own shit up probably.
Yeah, but there have been talks regarding the U.S. getting labor outside of of the country,
Hmm.
and it has been a major sticking point for some politicians, and also talks regarding elections. Uh, Are the people looking at the wrong persons when it comes to these type of things? When it comes to opportunity in the U.S., and it's the companies that they should actually be badgering on why jobs aren't actually sticking within the country and actually leaving.
Uh, well, I think it's foreign policy. I think also, to be fair, a lot of international jobs, there's jobs not just in China, like American companies do this in other nations as well. And I think it's a part of international policy, right? Like let's say the US and let's say the Philippines, for example. I know there's some factories here like Haynes and I think there's a Caterpillar factory here or a Cummins Caterpillar factory here. Um, I think these are kind of like promises, right? Like we will give you manufacturing jobs in return for like because we're allies, right? It's not always, I think, obviously there's a silver lining of the labor costs, but I don't think that's always the driving force. Um, and that's more so on the government side than it is the company themselves.
Now we just experienced SAG-AFTRA protests, or I mean, uh, issues. Was it this
Mhm.
year or last year? Last year, right?
Yes.
So that basically actually held an entire industry hostage. Is this the reason why companies are actually not for granting employees unionization?
Uh, I think the company loses a lot of authority. It kind of takes the, and again, I'm not an expert in any of this, but it kind of, I just look at it through a very practical lens, like, John Q. Public type lens. Um, it kind of takes the workforce, or let's break it all the way down to the individual person. The person is solely dependent, right? Like on the company. Let's say pre-union, right? Like basically you can kind of not do whatever you want, but the company has more control over what they offer. Whereas the employees like, I need this job. I can't, I wish I had 30 days leave. I only have 21 or whatever the case may be. Now, when the union comes in, the work, the labor force and the company kind of become partners,
Yeah.
right? Like you do this for me and I'll do this for you versus you do this for me because you don't have a choice, right? So that kind of changes it changes the I don't know, I know the word, but like it changes the whole fucking
Dynamic.
setup. The dynamic. Yeah, I was going to say dichotomy, but yeah, it changes the entire dynamic of employee employer um relationship. Where now it's like, hey, I'm not happy with the food that's in the cafeteria. We're not going to work for the next 2 weeks. And the company's like, fuck, man. Like it's, we need y'all to work. It's just food. Like, can we, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And it requires, not to mention the corporate red tape you would have to go through to change something like a cafeteria menu. That's not just somebody says, all right, get the burgers in, get the grilled cheese out, or whatever the case is. That's a process within itself.
Yeah. And I guess in the age of woke and progressiveness, we rarely hear these types of discussions, right? You would
No,
think we would be having it now, that these things should actually just be common sense or
you
commonplace in an employee's contract, right?
you would think, yeah.
But still, and if you hear this about a small fish, fine. I guess it's gonna be an oversight. But if it's a company like Apple with the intention of actually hindering any progress for their employees, still we don't know regarding what they're asking for.
Mm,
Are they just asking for unionization, or they don't have unionization, right? At this point,
no, they don't.
so they
They
still
want
haven't actually made their demands.
right. Yeah, they don't even.
They don't even want to
There
hear it.
was there was whispers about a union, and Apple was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't want those flyers here. I don't, what are you doing? Are you setting up a union? Who have you been talking to? That's the illegal part. They can't do that as a corporate entity. Obviously, if you and I work side by side on the assembly line, obviously you can question me about it. But when it comes from upstairs, it's like, hey, the head of whoever the fuck was down here asking me about the union. They can't do that.
It kind of feels like we wasted a lot of time on some of the issues when these actually surfaced, right?
Mm.
Like this type of thing should have been at the forefront. And why aren't anyone actually stepping on the podium and actually discussing this?
And I think another thing, and I'm not 100% sure, but I feel like the unions are not, it's not like an Apple union.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be the union for this particular,
For the I guess for this one for the telcos, right? Or for the what is AT&T,
yeah.
Verizon,
So
Frontier.
like, if they do it at the World Trade Center retail, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen in Orlando. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Like, so it's just it's a specific area, right? It's a yeah. So it's not like Apple has. I'm sure there's other places where Apple has factories that are already unionized. This particular place with this particular workforce is not.
And if we're going to be talking about Apple, I don't think this is just isolated to them. I think the other companies are also guilty of this.
Amazon had a hell of a time a couple years ago with unionization.
With people pissing in bottles, like
Bro, it was
work
bad.
conditions.
Work conditions were horrible. Even till now,
And
like have you seen the horror stories about Amazon how they do the drivers with the GPS now?
no, no, I
Like they
haven't.
know they
I
know
may
that
have.
yeah, I think you probably have. Like there was one lady I remember she was talking about it and she was like my route and my deliveries and my timing is so exact. I can't even stop to take a piss. And now with the introduction of GPS, they know if you swing into Wendy's and take a piss, it'd be like, what were you doing at Wendy's for eight
Now
minutes?
people would understand why your packages smell like pee. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's insane. And that type shit, whether that was, and again, I don't want to paint Amazon as a monster or Apple. Um, this isn't, I wouldn't, I would like to think this isn't a mission statement, corporate policy type behavior, right? There's humans in positions that make decisions, right? And what maybe they're removed from reality, from what's
yeah,
really happening in down the line. But I don't think these things are necessarily done maliciously. It's just the decisions that are made here, by the time they're put into place here, people are like, whoa, like with the GPS, great idea. And Amazon is all about quick delivery, on-time delivery. I feel like there was something missing, and somebody's like, "Oh shit, we didn't even give them time to take a piss. We got to fix this."
yeah, I think personal comfort is not in their agenda at that point when they actually
No,
held the machine for it,
right.
right? There's a window you can use it. I think that's basically the solution.
I mean, you're delivering to 75 houses a day. I mean, ask to use the bathrooms.
If you think about it, the conditions of the workers are only going to get worse with the influx of AI. Like these things are
Yeah,
going to need to be much more precise, and they're going to require the humans to actually follow them.
right. Yeah, it's but I mean, unions are needed, kind of. You need. It's no different than the representatives that you vote for in government. You want someone
Yeah,
to represent you in the government. You also want someone to represent you in your employment.
but there is a case to be made that I think these companies might think that there are some dangers that these unions actually pose to them, right?
Well, yeah, strikes, walkouts, those type things.
And there are certain, I'm not gonna say everything, but there might be times when unions are taking advantages of its members. I guess there are cases about that, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
There should
Well, I
be.
mean, in your free time, man, after we finish this,
You want to
if you
start unionizing?
no, I mean, go check out
I
like the original unions in like New York.
Yeah,
That was some mafia shit.
those were the Teamsters, right?
Man, they were running it.
Yeah, I think it was it Hoffa?
Hoffa was a team, yeah. So, just historically, if someone says union in a company, the company's like, oh shit. It's just there's never been like a peanut butter and jelly type relationship with companies and unions. It's just not it. It's like oil and water.
Yeah, we might actually find Jimmy Hoffa buried under boxes of Amazon stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
This-
yeah. Covered in piss.
yeah, hopefully things get better. And I would like to see candidates in the upcoming election actually look into this.
Yeah.
Like a lot of elections actually passed us by, and labor conditions in the US never was actually at the forefront. It was always some nonsensical things that they want to die by the sword. Like, has there
Right.
ever been has there ever been a administration in the US that actually looked into this type of thing?
Uh, actually, our in the
But
U.S., our
like I
right to
figured
unionize,
Biden would.
the right to unionize in the U.S. is actually protected by the U.S. Constitution. So it's your
Yeah,
constitutional right. So this prohibiting a union or trying to union bust or putting pressure on people that you know maybe want to start a union is no different than not feeding them or
yeah.
giving them a lunch break.
And if it's in the Constitution, why is it so that like it's It feels like it's so easy for companies to actually skirt the law when it comes to this one.
Well, it's a lot of verbal interaction, right? A lot of nuance. It's not a open and shut case where, oh, they told me because they never say, attention, here's a memo, you cannot unionize. They do skirt this kind of thing.
Should
They do
it
it in a
be the case
roundabout way.
that should it be the case that they should just include it in employee's contract?
Uh, I don't think that's a good idea for companies. Again, I want to shift to the perspective of the company. Um, I don't want a union in my company if it's like it's like if your kid doesn't say he wants chocolate, don't mention chocolate,
Mm.
right? Why would you say that? Like if you're sitting with your wife or whatever, she's like, I want chocolate, and then all of a sudden your kid's like, I want chocolate too. It's like, why did you say anything? Right? It's kind of the same thing. Like, don't give it to them unless they ask for it. And then still, maybe don't even give it to them then. Depends on what time it is.
Yeah, that's why I used a correlation between the SAG-AFTRA strikes. Like
Hmm.
a lot of people that weren't actually part of the union back then were actually hurt by the entire issue, right?
Right.
They weren't actually part of the union, but they were actually out of work because these companies aren't actually producing films and TV.
Right. Now
They're
imagine
not part of it.
imagine
They're not going to be part of the bargaining when it comes to their salaries or their
oh
content
no.
or their
Right.
benefits. So what did they
Right.
get out of it?
Now imagine we can live without new movies or new TV shows, right? It's not a big deal. There's fucking millions of hours of stuff to watch already. Now imagine Apple shuts down for about a month. Like at this point in time, 2024, I don't know that a huge gap in gadget production would benefit anybody. Prices would probably go up.
Yeah, but if this was excuse me, if this was 2007, yes, but they have other options now.
Mm, fair enough. But okay, I don't know what Apple's daily revenue is, but I imagine 2 weeks of no production would be detrimental to, again, their bottom line, obviously, but also the stock market. Like Apple's not producing, probably one of the top stocks in the world. It would really throw everything into kind of to a in a frenzy, right? It would
Would it
disrupt a lot of shit.
excuse me. Would it be just much more cost efficient for them to just actually fight a case like this rather than actually deal with a union being involved?
They can't fight a case. There's no fight. It's protected. I looked it up. It says the First Amendment of the Constitution, which guarantees the freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of petition. It also guarantees freedom of association and is recognized by U.S. courts as a fundamental right. The freedom of association encompasses the right of the group to take collective action to pursue the interests of its members. For this obvious reason, the constitutionally protected freedom of association includes unionization and union-related activities. They can't fight it. It's in the Constitution. So the best thing they can do is just be quiet and hope nobody mentions it for the most part.
I just can't see how the advantage for them actually outweighs the disadvantages when they're actually caught at this point.
That's the
I
thing.
figure these are smart people that actually know that they're gonna be hurt by these things.
Yeah.
It
That's the
doesn't
thing. They weren't
actually
supposed to interfere.
and it doesn't actually damage them that much because the majority, I think, of their labor is actually coming from China. So if you think about it, it's a very small percentage of their workforce that are going to be part of these unions, right? And they're
Right.
already saving a lot by outsourcing their factories and employees.
Right.
So I don't get the part where you're gonna die by this, die on this sword.
Yeah, well, I think they tried something and they got caught. Most companies, I think that's why you don't hardly ever hear this in the news. Because most companies, once somebody says a union, like I said, it's one of those things where you're not going to offer it unless they ask for it. Right. And what happened here is Apple didn't offer it. People asked for it. They tried to squash it and they got in trouble for it.
And I guess
Don't squash it. You have to give it once they ask for it, you have to give it to them. You
and I
have no
guess
choice.
we have also this question like how bad is the condition in Apple for employees to actually want to unionize?
Uh, that's the thing. Sometimes these union guys sniff around. It's like, we can get you higher wages, we can get you better health benefits, we can get you this, whereas people would otherwise be like, not really, think about it, right? And that's also why companies have to offer competitive wages, because if not, the unions will come in
Yeah,
and
you still
do their
have to
shit.
look at other unions actually coercing people into joining them, right?
That's a huge
There
problem, the
is
coercion.
there is strength in numbers.
Hmm, for sure.
This
Imagine your
basically
workforce.
this basically turned into an MLM. So
Yeah. Imagine, I mean, consider your workforce to be your lifeline,
yeah,
right? And now they want more, more, more. And once they become unionized, I mean, I'm sure there's implications whereas you can't fire someone for asking for a raise or demanding a raise, or, now because the entire workforce demands a raise, what are you going to do? You have to give it to everybody, or they're going to stop working and you can't do anything about it because they're in the union. That's a
it's
lawsuit all by itself.
it's not like we're defending Apple here, just to clarify.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I think I said this before. I don't remember when, but yeah, we try to take every possible angle and look at it
Yeah,
from
there are logical reasons why they actually want to skirt the law, but at the end of the day, it's actually the law, so they should just have followed it.
yeah, yeah. What's like
Right?
speeding, right? We all know we're not supposed to speed. We get caught speeding, what do? You pay the fine. You got caught. It's the same with this. You don't want to give a union, but when they catch you and they say they want a union, you just give them the union, man. You don't have a choice. Or go to court and lose and be in the news and have us talking shit about you.
Hopefully, things get resolved for those involved here. You
Yeah.
know, right?
Oh, I'm sure they have a union now because the judge said y'all can't do that. Can't even question them about it.
How even bad is the working conditions of these hipsters that are working there? So,
Bro,
do they,
we don't we don't
are
even
they
want to
not
go
getting
down.
enough sriracha in their break room? Like, I don't even know what they're unionizing for. Like, that's a major question for me. What forced you guys to actually unionize? I think
Because,
that needs to be looked at because Amazon actually everybody knows actually why they want to.
right.
It's the poor working conditions. Like they're in air conditioned rooms,
I mean, it could be something that
standing or
somebody,
standing around waiting for someone to actually ask for a charger that they didn't actually provide. Like these are the type of works that these people are actually doing.
was it said this is a retail store. So
Yeah.
these guys are, yeah, this
So
is where you stocking shelves and
how worse is their working condition to actually want to unionize?
I feel like there was that little whisper guy came in and was like, and New York, for one, New York is incredibly expensive to live in. So
Like
working retail at Apple probably doesn't pay the bills.
I can understand if you're a dock worker delivering Apple products to their
Right.
warehouses, but standing in front of your products and actually waiting for people to talk to you.
I feel like too, this is, you beware of the monsters you create. They push this high minimum wage. Um, everybody's great, everybody's equal, everybody's included, everybody participation trophy, participation trophy, participation trophy. And in Democrat New York, I mean, it's, biting the hand that feeds you. In some cases, you could look at it, but also the living, the cost of living in New York is bananas. So, like I said, working retail at an Apple store is not gonna. I mean, it'll probably pay the rent, But you know, if you got
Yeah,
to
these
sit in there all day
companies.
and watch people buy iPhone 15s and you know $300 cases and a new a new charger every week because they keep losing theirs, it's going to get to you. It's like, damn, I can't even afford the stuff I'm selling.
Yeah, that's a good point there. Like we don't know what they're planning to unionize for again.
Right. Could just
But
be
if it's
high
a work if it's a work conditions, I call BS on that. If these are just retail stores. But
Apple's a nice place, man.
if it's the pay, that's a different story.
Yeah. I
This
mean, have you
company's
ever
worth billions. Pay your employees.
yeah. Hey, they have to earn a living wage. And right around the World Trade Center, bro, that's like prime real estate. I mean, Apple employees, retail employees are probably coming in on the train from, out, on the outer parts. And yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it has to be salary, right? It has to be.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everyone's doing well in their place.
Yeah.
With that being said, uh, thank you very much again for joining us. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Especially the comment part. We appreciate the comments actually,
Yeah.
especially the ones that actually watch the entire thing and want to discuss it with other people civilly. So, on behalf of my co-host, the great Christopher Short, we'll see you in the next.